What's good? It's Woog. I want to do a little recap on Regis Prograis versus Jose Zepeda, where Regis Prograis stopped him in the 11th round. And that was a hugely consequential fight because it was for the vacant WBC 140-pound title, one of the three belts that was stripped, or that, Josh Taylor, the former undisputed in the division, relinquished in pursuit of his rematch with Jack Catterall. Now, I actually attended this fight, and it was a blast. And I'm telling you, if you're in Southern California, the Dignity Health Sports Park, formerly the StubHub Center, the Home Depot Center, it's the venue in Carson. You get so much value on some of these fights if you go there versus, say, like the Crypto.com Arena, formerly known as Staples Center in downtown Los Angeles. So this one in Carson, California, it's a smaller venue. Earlier this year, I went to Jermell Charlo versus Brian Castano too, and I got equally great value for like what you pay and the type of seat you get. So in the case of yesterday's Prograis versus Zepeda fight, I went with my dad and we got floor seats for like a fraction of the cost of like a damn near nosebleed seat at, say, a Ryan Garcia fight that would take place at the Crypto.com arena. It's really just one of those venues that, hardly has a bad seat in the house. And I was surprised that for a promotion, because this was not Top Rank, this was not Matchroom, this was not PBC, this was Marv Nation, who won the Zepeda versus Prograis purse bid. And so I was surprised at the turnout on some of the boxing celebs that attended the fight. I mean, Dimitri Bivol was in the house. Nonito Donaire was in the house. Jaime Munguia was in the house. Virgil Ortiz Jr. was there. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, once we got into the fight, I really thought that this might result in like a 8-4 decision for Regis Prograis. But I knew that this was going to be a dangerous fight. The thing is, from the Prograis standpoint, it just seemed like the road back to a title shot was so long after that close decision loss to Josh Taylor in the finals of the World Boxing Super Series. You would have thought that Prograis would have had like another big fight just waiting for him around the corner, but no, he fought one, less than elite or non-meaningful fight after another for like the next few years pretty much. And so, and both he and Zepeda are 33 years old, so both of these guys really needed to make this happen last night. And the first round, I thought it was pretty even. I think that when I was, watching it with my dad, we basically said 1-0 for Zepeda, because Zepeda landed like the biggest shot of the round, and there wasn't anything that Prograis did to seize that round. But I really felt that from round 2 on, you could conceivably give Prograis every round after the first round. And there were maybe 2 rounds that you could have given to Zepeda. So Zepeda, at most, could have had 3 rounds heading into the 11th round. But it would be more likely that he probably got 2 rounds or something like that heading into the 11th round where he was stopped. And you quickly kind of saw the strategy of Regis Prograis walking Zepeda down. It was pretty interesting because he was really taking his time about it. His jab looked phenomenal. Like, his jab was splashing on Zepeda. Super clear punches where you saw the head snap back type of reaction to some of those jabs. And then as the fight went on, he was having more and more success throwing that left hand. And he was mixing it up too. Like, some of the exchanges were pretty hot where, Zepeda gave as good as he got in some of those exchanges. But those were kind of the rarity. In most cases in this fight, Regis Prograis was winning the vast majority of the exchanges per round. And that goes for if the action was taking place on the inside or on the outside, which is kind of surprising. You would normally think that one guy who's got the advantage may be at distance. Like if Prograis perhaps established like a hand speed advantage, that maybe Zepeda could then do the better work on the inside. But no, we've seen enough Regis Prograis fights at this point to know that he is no joke on the inside as well. I mean, just look at how he did against Josh Taylor. He fought really well on the inside. But I did not expect him to just break Zepeda down like that to where he was just beating on him by the end of the 10th round and then into the 11th round getting a stoppage. Zepeda has always struck me as resilient, as always having a lot of heart, punching power, like a dangerous puncher, dangerous counter puncher. And I was a little bit surprised that Zepeda wasn't trying to get on his front foot a little bit more. it looked like he was more or less waiting for Regis Prograis to make the first action, and that he would then respond to that. It wasn't working out for him because Prograis, I thought, was sharp enough, and if you look at his trunk movement, Prograis' defense was so on point. I didn't expect his defense to be that good. I thought that this was going to be a lot closer to 50-50 than what it was. I didn't think that Prograis would be able to evade the vast majority of the punches just with that smooth head movement and body trunk movement, especially at 33. Like, usually those types of reflexes start to diminish, by the time you're starting to hit the, the early to mid 30s, especially in the later rounds. But even when we got into like the, the 7th, 8th, 9th rounds and so forth, Prograis was still very sharp defensively. So, yeah, aside from maybe, this might have been the best performance of Regis Prograis' career. The other one I would put up there with it might be his stoppage over Kirill Relic in the semifinals of that World Boxing Super Series. But yeah, this stoppage win was very dramatic. And it was also dramatic because it was a very, very pro Zepeda crowd. So you could hear the audience start to quiet down round over round as Prograis was seizing more and more control of the fight and starting to land harder and cleaner shots as the fight progressed. But yeah, this was a huge win for Regis Prograis. And, we'll see, based on his, promotional status, he's, I believe, still with Probellum, so he's still not with a major promoter. So we'll see if that impedes what's supposed to be his next fight now, because this was the battle for the vacant WBC belt. But the first person who had that opportunity to fight Zepeda for that belt would have been Jose Ramirez, but he was, I think, getting married, so he postponed his return to the ring after his recent win against Jose Pedraza. So Regis Prograis kind of stepped in and seized that opportunity. So Jose Ramirez is supposed to be next in line. It would have been a lot easier for them to make a rematch of Zepeda and Ramirez, since they're both with Top Rank. Prograis not with Top Rank, but I get the feeling that Prograis, unless he prices himself out of a title defense, where he would then be stripped, right? If he doesn't fight Jose Ramirez next. Yeah, he kind of has to. I mean, he could negotiate and somewhat play hardball to make sure that he gets paid equitably in this fight. But you want to make it work with it. If it's Probellum that's still representing you. Probellum came into the game saying that they wanted to be kind of the grease that could bring some of the other major players together for some of these meaningful fights. So we'll see if they live up to that brand expectation or brand promise, if you will. But yeah, I would love to see Regis Prograis versus the very dangerous and very good Jose Ramirez, especially after seeing this Regis Prograis performance against Zepeda. Zepeda and Ramirez fought a damn near even fight a few years ago. Ramirez was awarded the very close decision win against Zepeda. In fact, that was Zepeda's last loss before this Regis Prograis fight. So yeah, I feel like that fight just needs to be made between Prograis and Ramirez, and the winner of that is supposed to fight the winner of Teofimo Lopez versus Sander Martin. That's the way it's supposed to set up. But I kind of suspect that they might pivot Teofimo Lopez's plans if he beats Martin. I think there's a possibility that they try to make Teofimo Lopez versus the winner of Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall 2. That would be very interesting to see Teofimo, because that's kind of one of the fights that need to be made at 140, right? I feel like we have to see what happens if Teofimo Lopez fights Josh Taylor, who I still have in my pound for pound top 10. But yeah, great performance from Regis Prograis. Let me know if you think that they make Prograis versus Ramirez next. Remember, it was just over a year ago when Jose Ramirez was competing in that battle for undisputed against Josh Taylor. So he's very much still in the mix. I was kind of questioning whether he could still comfortably make 140. I mean, he's a pretty big dude. One thing about Regis Prograis, like you forget how small of a 140 he is. Like height-wise, he's about 5'7", maybe a shade above 5'7", and he doesn't have a particularly long reach either. You look at Jose Ramirez's height, he's like 5'10", 5'11". He's basically about Virgil Ortiz Jr.'s height. So you forget sometimes about the height dynamic. And I mean, rewatch the face-offs going into Prograis versus Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor was looking looking down at Prograis, with Josh Taylor being about 5'10" or so. So that's always a kind of an obstacle that Prograis needs to work through against some of the taller 140-pound fighters. So he's going to have to essentially swim without getting wet against a very dangerous pressure fighter, Jose Ramirez. Now, in the case of Zepeda, Zepeda was closer to the same height as Regis Prograis. And, you know, after this stoppage win, again, very dramatic stoppage win, even though, you know, it was kind of like a increasingly Regis Prograis fight, so it wasn't like totally unexpected by the time you're getting into the 11th round, but still seeing him pull it off and seeing somebody as durable and resilient and good as, I mean, the guy was in the fight of the year, Zepeda was, against Baranchik in 2020, to see him kind of fall back into the ropes in the way that he did and then kind of just getting tagged because Regis Prograis started letting his hands go. I was surprised, again, how well Regis Prograis defended well into the middle rounds and how much pop and zip was still on his punches heading into the late rounds to where he could then flurry in the 11th to close the show. Hats off to him. But yeah, let me know what you thought about the fight. Again, I implore you, if you are in Southern California, make it out to the Dignity Health Sports Park. I hate the name. I love the venue. Carson, California. But yeah, let me know what you thought about the fight, and I'll try to do another one about Dillian Whyte versus Jermaine Franklin. That was a pretty interesting and pretty even-ish fight. You also forget about how big Dillian Whyte is as well. Like, sometimes you might think, okay, he's probably about 6'2", 6. No, he's 6'4", and when you're 6'4", fighting a 6'1.5", 6'2" guy, it makes a big, big difference. Like, the dude looks like a bear in there. It just so happens we recently saw him fighting, you know, the massive Tyson Fury, and he's fought Anthony Joshua, he's fought Mariusz Vok, and in Lucas Brown. So Dillian Whyte's been in there with a lot of 6'6", 6'7" guys. But when you see him against a regular sized heavyweight, or even a smaller sized heavyweight, you're reminded, yeah, not only is Dillian Whyte often like 250 pounds or more, but he's also 6'4". But yeah, I'll try to do a recap of Whyte versus Franklin, where Whyte earned a pretty close majority decision win. But yeah, let me know what you thought about Zepeda versus Prograis and what you think the likelihood, well, how you size up Prograis versus Jose Ramirez. And shout out to Andre at the Carson venue yesterday, you know, showing love, shouting me out. Good to meet you, Andre. But yeah, thanks guys for tuning in.